The phone rang at exactly 6:47 a.m., cutting through the morning silence like a blade through butter. I was already up, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint our family ranch in golden hues, 28 years old, and I'd never received a call this early that brought good news. "Jake Morrison?" The voice was crisp, professional, with just a hint of Texas drawl. "Speaking. This is Robert Hayes, CEO of Lone Star Cattle Company. I believe you applied for our ranch operations manager position." My heart stopped. Lone Star was the biggest cattle operation in 3 states. The position would triple my salary and put me on a career path I'd only dreamed about. I'd sent that application 6 months ago and heard nothing back. "Yes, sir, I did." "Well, son, I'm calling to offer you the job. When can you start?" The words hit me like lightning. This was it, my chance to break free from the endless cycle of barely making ends meet on our struggling family ranch. Mom had been talking about selling for years, and my younger brother Danny had zero interest in ranching, preferring his comfortable office job in town. "That's incredible, Mr. Hayes. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This job will test every skill you've got, but your references speak volumes, and we need someone with your experience. Can you be here Monday morning?" I looked around our kitchen at the faded family photos and the stack of unpaid bills Mom tried to hide. This opportunity could change everything. "Absolutely, sir. I'll be there." But as I hung up, I had no idea that the real test wouldn't come from the job itself. It would come from my own family. I found Mom in the barn, feeding the horses we could barely afford to keep. Her face lit up when I told her about the call, but something flickered in her eyes, something I couldn't quite read. "That's wonderful, honey," she said, but her voice carried an odd weight. "You know, Danny mentioned he might be interested in ranch work again." My stomach dropped. "Mom, this is my opportunity. I earned this." She set down the feed bucket and turned to face me fully. "Of course you did, sweetheart. But you know how Danny's been struggling since his divorce. Maybe this could be exactly what he needs to get back on his feet." "He chose to leave ranching, Mom. He said it was beneath him, remember?" Her expression hardened slightly. "People change, Jake. Family comes first. You know that." The familiar weight of guilt settled on my shoulders like a heavy blanket. Mum had perfected this technique over the years, making me feel selfish for wanting anything for myself. Danny was her golden child, the one who went to college, the one who married well before it all fell apart. "I can't just give away a job offer, Mum. That's not how it works. You could call them back. Explain that your brother is more qualified. He has a business degree." "From a ranch? Mum, I've been working cattle since I was 12. Danny hasn't touched a cow in 8 years. But even as I argued, I could feel my resolve weakening. The look in her eyes, the way her shoulders sagged slightly, she knew exactly which buttons to push. "Just think about it, honey. That's all I'm asking." I walked away, feeling like I was drowning in my own family's expectations. Danny arrived that evening, summoned by Mum's urgent phone call. He looked exactly like what he was, a failed businessman trying to find his way back. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his confidence shaken, but his entitlement remained intact. "Jake, buddy," he said, clapping me on the shoulder with false enthusiasm. "Mom told me about your little job opportunity." Little job opportunity. The words stung more than they should have. "It's a big deal, Danny. This could set me up for life." Sure, but let's be realistic here. You're great with the day-to-day stuff, but this is a management position. They need someone who understands business, finance, strategic planning." I felt my jaw clench. "I've been managing this ranch for 5 years, while you played businessman in the city. That's different. This is corporate ranching. They need someone with my background." Mom appeared in the doorway, her timing perfect as always. "Boys, let's not fight. We're family. We should be helping each other." "I'm not fighting," I said. "I'm trying to understand why I should give up my dream job to someone who called ranching glorified farming just last Christmas." Danny's face reddened. "I was going through a rough patch. I said things I didn't mean. You meant every word." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Mom moved between us, her hands raised in a peacekeeping gesture that felt more like manipulation. "Jake, honey, you know this ranch needs you. If Danny takes the corporate job, he could help us financially. You could focus on making this place profitable again." The trap was closing around me, and I could feel it. 3 days of constant pressure wore me down like water on stone. Mum's disappointed sighs, Danny's logical arguments about his superior qualifications, the subtle reminders of family loyalty, it all combined into an overwhelming force. I found myself staring at Mr. Hayes's business card, my phone in my other hand. The smart thing, the right thing for my future, would be to ignore my family's pressure and take the job. But the weight of 28 years of being the responsible one, the family-focused one, felt heavier than my ambitions. My finger hovered over the numbers. "You're doing the right thing," Mom said softly from behind me. I hadn't heard her approach. "Family is forever, Jake. Jobs come and go." "This job won't come again, Mom." "You don't know that. You're talented, hard-working. There will be other opportunities." But we both knew she was lying. Opportunities like this were once in a lifetime for someone like me. I dialed the number. "Mr. Hayes, this is Jake Morrison. I'm calling about the position. I'm afraid I need to decline. A family situation has come up, and I can't leave right now." The silence on the other end stretched for what felt like hours. "I see. That's disappointing, son. Are you sure about this?" "Yes, sir. But I have a brother who might be interested. Danny Morrison. He has a business degree and some management experience. Send me his resume. I'll take a look." After I hung up, Mom hugged me tight. "You're a good son, Jake. This will work out for the best, you'll see." But as I watched Danny's excitement when he got the call for an interview, I felt something die inside me. Danny got the job, of course. His interview went perfectly. He spoke their corporate language, understood their profit margins, and painted a picture of modern ranching efficiency that impressed the board. Within 2 weeks, he was gone, leaving me alone with the struggling family ranch and a mother who suddenly seemed less grateful for my sacrifice. "He's doing so well," Mom would say during his weekly calls, her voice bright with pride. "They're already talking about promoting him to regional manager." Dre, I listened to these updates while fixing broken fences with wire we couldn't afford and watching our cattle grow thinner on overgrazed pastures. The ranch was dying slowly, and we all knew it. The worst part wasn't the financial struggle. It was the growing realization that I'd been played. Danny had never intended to help the family ranch with his new salary. He'd moved to Dallas, bought a new truck, and started dating his boss's daughter. His weekly calls became monthly, then sporadic. "He's busy building his career," Mom would say when I pointed out his absence. "We should be proud." But I could see the disappointment in her eyes too. The golden child was golden only when it served his purposes. I threw myself into ranch work with desperate intensity, trying to make something work with nothing. I negotiated with feed suppliers, researched new grazing techniques, even took a part-time job in town to keep us afloat. But every day felt like swimming upstream against an impossible current. The ranch was more than our livelihood. It was our family's legacy, 4 generations of Morrison's sweat and dreams. And I was watching it slip away, one unpaid bill at a time. 6 months after Danny left, I was in the barn repairing a broken stall door when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but the message made my blood run cold. "Jake, this is Robert Hayes. I need to speak with you privately. Can you meet me at Miller's Diner on Highway 87 tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Come alone. There are things you need to know about your brother's employment and your family's situation." My hand shook as I read the message twice, then 3 times. Why would the CEO of Lone Star Cattle Company want to meet me secretly? What did he mean about things I need to know? I spent the rest of the day in a fog of anxiety and curiosity. Mum noticed my distraction during dinner but didn't press when I claimed to be tired. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, running through every possible scenario. Had Danny done something wrong at work? Was the company in trouble? Or was this about something else entirely? The next day crawled by with agonizing slowness. I told Mom I was going to town for supplies, which wasn't entirely a lie. I did need to pick up some fence posts we couldn't afford. Miller's Diner sat on a lonely stretch of highway, the kind of place where truckers stopped for coffee and locals gathered to discuss weather and cattle prices. I arrived 10 minutes early, my palms sweating despite the air conditioning. Mr. Hayes was already there, sitting in a corner booth with his back to the wall. He looked older than I remembered from the company website photos, his face weathered by years of sun and hard decisions. "Jake," he said, standing to shake my hand. "Thanks for coming. Sit down. We need to talk." "Your brother was fired 3 weeks ago," Mr. Hayes said without preamble, his coffee cup untouched between his weathered hands. "Embezzlement, falsified expense reports. We're not pressing charges because the amounts were relatively small, but he's blacklisted from the industry." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What? But Mom said he was up for promotion." "Your mother doesn't know. Danny's been lying to your family, probably to avoid the shame. He's been working construction in Dallas, last I heard." I stared at him, trying to process this information. "Why are you telling me this?" Mr. Hayes leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Because I made a mistake 6 months ago. I should have fought harder to keep you when you called to decline. I let you walk away, and I've regretted it ever since." "I don't understand." "Jake, I've been in this business for 35 years. I can spot real talent from a mile away. Your brother talked a good game, but he was all flash and no substance. You, on the other hand..." He paused, studying my face. "I did some research after you left. Talked to your suppliers, your neighbors, even your high school agriculture teacher. You know what I learned?" I shook my head, afraid to hope. "That you've been single-handedly keeping a failing ranch afloat for years. That you've innovated solutions with no budget and no help. That you've got the kind of practical intelligence and work ethic that can't be taught in business school." My throat felt tight. The position's already filled. The position your brother had, yes, but I've got something better in mind. I'm expanding operations, opening a new division focused on sustainable ranching practices and small operation consulting. I need someone to head it up, someone who understands the real challenges facing family ranches. The offer hung in the air between us like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. "The salary would be double what I originally offered," Mr. Hayes continued, "plus profit sharing, company truck, and a housing allowance. But more than that, you'd be helping family operations like your own survive and thrive." I sat in stunned silence, watching the traffic pass by the diner window. Everything I'd wanted, everything I'd sacrificed, was being offered to me again. But better. "Why now?" I asked. "Why not 6 months ago?" "Because 6 months ago, I didn't know what your brother was really like. I didn't understand the family dynamics at play, and honestly, I wanted to see what you'd do when faced with adversity. You've proven yourself in ways no interview could have revealed." "My family. We'll have to learn to respect your choices. Jake, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. If you take this job, there will be consequences. Your mother won't like losing her safety net. Your brother will probably be furious when his lies are exposed, but you can't live your life for other people's comfort." I thought about the ranch, about Mum's expectations, about the years I'd spent putting everyone else's needs before my own. The pattern was so ingrained I could barely imagine breaking it. I need time to think. Of course. But Jake, opportunities like this don't wait forever. I need an answer by Friday. He stood to leave, then turned back. One more thing. I know about your family's financial situation. If you take this job, you'll be in a position to actually help them. On your terms, not theirs. After he left, I sat in that diner booth for another hour, staring at my reflection in the window and trying to figure out who I really was beneath all the layers of family obligation and self-sacrifice. I drove home in a daze, Mr. Hayes' words echoing in my head. The ranch looked different somehow, smaller, more tired, like a burden I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. Mom was in the kitchen when I walked in, humming while she prepared dinner. She looked up with a smile that faltered when she saw my expression. "Jake, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "We need to talk, Mom, about Danny, about the job, about everything." Her smile disappeared entirely. "What do you mean?" "Danny was fired 3 weeks ago for stealing. He's been lying to us this whole time." The color drained from her face. She sank into a kitchen chair, her hands trembling slightly. That's not possible. He just called last week about his promotion." "There was no promotion. There's no job. He's working construction and lying to avoid telling us he failed." For a long moment, the only sound was the old refrigerator humming in the corner. Then Mom's shoulders began to shake, and I realized she was crying. "I pushed you to give up that job for nothing," she whispered. "I made you sacrifice your future for a lie. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have trusted you instead of always favoring him." She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Can you ever forgive me?" The anger I'd been carrying for months began to dissolve. She wasn't a villain. She was a mother who'd made mistakes, who'd let favoritism blind her to reality. "There's something else, Mom. Mr. Hayes wants to offer me a different position, a better one." Her eyes widened. "But the ranch will have to survive without me being its caretaker. I can't keep sacrificing my life to prop up something that's already dying." The conversation with Mom lasted until well past midnight. We talked about things we'd never discussed. Her fears about losing the ranch, her guilt over favoring Danny, her worry that I'd resent her forever for the choices she'd pushed me to make. "I was so afraid of being alone," she admitted. "Your father built this place, and after he died, keeping it running felt like keeping him alive. I thought if I could just hold on long enough. Dad wouldn't want us to destroy ourselves trying to save something that's already gone, Mom." She nodded slowly. "You're right. You've always been the wise one, Jake. I just couldn't see it through my own fears." The next morning I called Mr. Hayes. "I accept your offer," I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. "Excellent. Can you start Monday?" "Yes, sir, but I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to help my family transition the ranch to new ownership. Someone who can make it profitable again. I don't want to just abandon it." "Consider it done. We work with ranch brokers all the time. I'll connect you with the best." When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Excitement about the future. Not anxiety, not obligation, not the weight of other people's expectations. Just pure, clean anticipation for what was coming next. Mum found me packing that afternoon. She stood in my doorway, watching as I folded clothes I hadn't worn in years, clothes suitable for business meetings and professional dinners. "I'm proud of you," she said quietly. "It took me too long to say it, but I'm proud of the man you've become. Your father would be too." "Thanks, Mom. That means everything. Will you visit?" "Of course. And Mom, you're going to be fine. Better than fine. You're going to be free." 6 months later, I stood in my new office overlooking the Lone Star Cattle Company's main operation, watching the sunrise paint the horizon in shades of gold and crimson. My desk was covered with proposals from small ranch operations seeking consultation, sustainability reports, and expansion plans for our new division. The work was everything I'd hoped it would be: challenging, meaningful, and perfectly suited to my skills and experience. I was helping family ranches across 3 states implement sustainable practices, negotiate better contracts, and plan for long-term success. Mum had sold our ranch to a young couple from Oklahoma who brought fresh energy and modern techniques to the operation. She'd moved to a small house in town and started volunteering at the local library, something she'd always wanted to do but never had time for. Danny had eventually called to confess his failures and ask for forgiveness. The conversation was awkward but necessary. He was working construction, paying back what he'd stolen, and slowly rebuilding his life. We weren't close, but we were civil, which was more than I'd expected. My phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Hayes. "Board meeting at 2 p.m. Bring the quarterly reports. They're impressed with your division's growth." I smiled, straightening my tie and gathering my papers. The scared, resentful man who'd sat in that diner booth 6 months ago felt like a stranger now. I'd learned that sometimes the greatest act of love for your family is refusing to be their safety net. Sometimes you have to disappoint people to save yourself. As I walked toward the conference room, I thought about the journey that had brought me here, the sacrifice, the betrayal, the unexpected second chance. Every painful step had been necessary to get me to this moment. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is having your worst fears come true. It forces you to discover who you really are when everything else is stripped away. And who I really was, it turned out, was exactly who I'd always been, just finally free to prove it.